30-40% of our country isn't even connected to the internet yet. So how can I take...
Such a big freedom,
Yeah,
I want to say.
From a certain perspective,
Some people at these forums should start talking about, if I put down a project, it must run beyond my involvement. If it can't run beyond, when I leave it and it falls apart, then what am I really building? I'm building a temporary solution, not I'm not putting anything permanent in place. Then what's the use of that? That's not what we want. We want permanent change. So
esport is the introduction to play any type of sport in real life.
Yeah.
To be more physical active.
yeah.
So not a transit from offline to online, but from online to offline. From time to time, at least.
Yes.
Clever grown-ups make children do what they want.
It's much easier if your child is difficult to say, here's a cell phone, go do that. Now, 5 years down the line, you say, he never gets off the cell phone. But what did you do 5 years ago? For the last 5 years, you've been giving your child a smartphone or a tablet or whatever, and now you expect him to behave differently. You taught him that, or him or her, your child, that this is okay to raise this, to grow up in this way. There's actually a quote from a gentleman I saw on a video clip as well, Denzel Washington, that said, if you don't read the news, you are uninformed. If you do read the news, you are misinformed.
Yes,
and I
Watch podcast hours, and you will be properly informed.
see, I've never seen snow in my life.
Really?
Mm.
You know,
For the third time, Namibia.
we know this man.
Yeah.
Zvezda Holding presents Dynamic Spectrum Talks. Now.
Hello, dear friends. This is Dynamic Spectrum Talks podcast. I am Anna Shafran, and this is my colleague Yuri Lindra.
Hello, everyone.
Our podcast is a space where we talk to different people from all over the world, and we believe that representatives of different nations and cultural backgrounds should have an honest dialogue to overcome disagreements.
Very true. And today, as you may notice, we are not in our traditional cozy studio. We are on the sidelines of the Global Digital Forum, a place where main activities in the digital sphere, international cooperation in the digital sphere is taking place right now. So, because of this, we have invited our good friend from far, far away Namibia, who is the speaker of this Global Digital Forum, Mr. Flip de Bruin, who is the president of Namibian Esports Association, as well as the board member of International Esports Federation. Am I correct, Flip?
International Esports Federation.
Yeah,
Correct, yes.
that's correct. Welcome to see you again.
Thank you very much. It's
In
good to be
person,
here.
this time in person.
This time in person.
Yes, really.
Great to be here.
We are very glad to welcome you to our country, and we hope you arrived safely.
Yes.
And our first question relates to the main topic of this forum, global digital cooperation. How would you assess the level of international dialogue in the digital sphere and the development of the internet in general? And in particular, can you share your opinion on the potential of IT trade and cooperation between Russia and Namibia?
Wow. Let's see. There are a lot of special factors we need to look at here. There are parallels and there are major differences, so it's quite a challenge to look at it that way. The nice thing about Namibia is that it's a population of about 3 million people. So any sort of IT system or any implementation is quite easy given the population. I mean, 3 million people for a country that size is nothing. I mean, I think you almost have 10 times that population just in Moscow. So you see, it's the differences in scale makes it easy, but very challenging at the same time.
I'm sorry, the population of Moscow is about 20 million.
Yeah, Moscow Metropolia. Yeah, it's about 20 million.
So it's almost 10 times the size of our country you have in one city.
The size of your country is Germany and France altogether.
Yes, 800,000 square kilometers.
Now we are talking in Nizhny Novgorod, by the way. The population of Nizhny Novgorod is about 1.5 million.
Yeah.
Okay, so half of my entire country's population is just in this city. It's insane if you think about it. You see, but that's why if you talk about IT innovation and trade, especially when you come to AI and things like that, and all of these technological advances, if you have a country that's small, it's supposed to be very easy to take anything that is working, that is in Russia, because I've seen so many things, wonderful things here, and it should be easy to take it and put it down there. But the problem is that Namibia, like a lot of other countries, isn't so IT literate, meaning people aren't that good with computers yet. About 40% of our country isn't even connected to the internet yet. So how can I take...
Such a big freedom, I want to say.
From a certain perspective,
From
yes.
a certain perspective. But you see, so that's what gives me a very unique perspective, I think, in certain matters, because I go to villages where people have no electricity, no internet. They live in clay huts, and they live in areas where if you don't tell someone you've gone there, no one will ever know you're there, because they can't reach you by phone, they can't text you, nothing. But now to take these advantages that I see in the connectivity that you have, for example, now in Russia and in Moscow, as I have perceived it, even here. But I see the real challenge is getting the people to understand and use this, because you are already so far ahead. To take that advanced concept there doesn't help you because people don't understand it yet. So I think my opinion here is, I love the innovation, but I think we need to do a lot more of bridging the gap in terms of the understanding of the people there, to get them to the level where they can use these complex systems. But my opinion is that I think there's a lot that we can learn from Russia. I've seen it with my own eyes now. I can almost say I've tasted it, I've experienced it. And I think if that is what you are going for, if you're going for a global industrial power, then you need these sorts of things that you have. But Namibia being an agricultural and being a little bit behind, I think there's a lot of catching up we need to do, really.
To be honestly, I begin to understand now that maybe Namibia is my place, because I like old school very much.
You see, this is the typical issue. When you live outside of the city, you want to live in the city. When you live in the city, you get tired of the people. You want to go back to just right. If you have all this digital fancy stuff, you get used to it and you want to live without it. To forget about the cell phone, to enjoy the nature. And when, as you said, you live in a village where there is no electricity, where there is no nothing, you dream about something like that.
Yeah, it's the duality, and I think that's why you'll see a lot of people in Namibia. They'll come to the city during the week to work, and then they'll go to plots or farms on the weekend just to get away from the noise. So that may be more your pace if you like something like that. But yes, it's, as I said, it comes with its advantages and disadvantages, because now it's peaceful not to have the technology in your phone with you all the time, but at the same time they are not informed, they are not educated, so it's very difficult to help build or develop them because they don't understand what you're bringing to them in terms of technology. So
they need to go their own development step by step in order to be ready for the next technological level that can be brought and installed in a particular society.
Exactly. Imagine this. Imagine you have a bushman from Tumkwe. He's born and raised in a hut. He's herding cattle, and now you invite him to an AI forum. He does, never mind AI. He doesn't understand technology, doesn't understand computers. He doesn't even understand internet or electricity. But now you want to teach him AI. He's missing all of these parts. You see, so that's the unique challenge that we have in a lot of African countries. Now, looking from it out of my board member perspective from the ISF side, the International Esports Federation, there's a lot of countries where you can't take these advanced technologies there. They don't have the steps. They don't have the building blocks. They don't have the skills to use it. And I think that's where a lot of the problem comes in.
Philip, my question arises from what you have just said. You've seen that there are a lot of people on the Global Digital Forum from all over the world. The most focused is on the Global South. We all understand that many countries, as you said, are missing certain steps in their, let's say, digital development. What can this forum bring to these people, or at least cooperation with the Russian Federation? Maybe on, if you take example of Namibia, where we can cooperate, keeping in mind there is a certain gap between the societies and between, let's say, Russia and the Global South.
Look, I think what needs to happen at a forum like this is, I think, given the power of AI and the capabilities, I think there are some smart people and big corporations that can build models for integration, or at least let's call it a structured plan to bringing these people on board. The issue here, Yuri, is if you look at businesses, unfortunately, money is the backbone of a lot of anything happens, whether it's education, health.
Welcome to capitalism.
Of course.
This thing's called capitalism.
Exactly. So the issue that you have to address here is if, let's say, we want to go and we want to say, okay, this particular village in Namibia, we want to modernize them. Then where these sorts of forums can come in is to look at how can we create something that is a sustainable investment there. Because the biggest problem that you have in a lot of these countries and a lot of these situations is there are brilliant minds here and there are brilliant inventions, and there are sometimes people who bridge that gap in terms of investment and so on to take them there, but it's not sustainable. It's there for 2 years and then it's gone because it's not renewed. The initiative is not renewed. The original people are gone and so on. So I think what we need to do is we need to look at ways that education can be adapted for a local scene almost. Because let's say you go there and you teach them. Let's say Anna wants to become a teacher and we send her to Africa and she goes to teach everybody to be a well-suited presenter for TV or podcast or whatever. So you go and you train them for media. Now you go away. Now there's no one left to fill that gap anymore. You did your 3 years, you taught a lot of people, but who's going to teach them after? Because now you've taught them to be media presenters. You didn't teach them how to teach other people. But now, so the initial project is up. No one budgeted for whatever comes afterwards. No one thought that far. So that's really the big problem, Yurius. I think that when the models are built, I don't think people discuss it long term enough. So that's what I think some people at these forums should start talking about. If I put down a project, it must run beyond my involvement. If it can't run beyond, when I leave it and it falls apart, then what am I really building? I'm building a temporary solution, not I'm not putting anything permanent in place. Then what's the use of that? That's not what we want. We want permanent change. So that's how I would say. I think we just need to bring some longevity into the discussions.
On the platform of the Global Digital Forum, we would like to talk a bit more about esports and gaming. This sphere is developing every day. As we know, many people begin to notice that actually video games is not just a waste of time, but sometimes worthwhile and influential. So, Flip, from your perspective, did something change in the esports world since our last talk?
Yes. Wow. That's a good question. There's a lot that's changed, Anna.
Really? We just talked maybe less than a year ago.
Yes. So recently the IOC, the International Olympics Committee, has started with the process of adopting esports as a permanent part of it. That in chain has also cascaded to a lot of other places in terms of now everybody's saying, okay, so it's going to Olympics. But now the way that this works is if it's accepted by the Olympic circuit, then that also forces the schools and the countries a part of that to allow esports into schools, because a lot of schools didn't want to do it because they said it's a waste of time. I understand there's still a lot of people who tell their children, you're not allowed to play games, there's no future, but that's why.
For example, me.
No.
To my son.
Fair enough. That's fair enough. But see, the thing is, I think, again, I'm going to come back to the education thing. How many parents properly know how to guide their children when they want to play esports? Having your child play for 6 hours a day is not healthy. I'm not saying you should do that. I'm saying that we need to give the teachers and the parents the proper skills and knowledge to be able to guide their children if they want to do esports. And the way in which we are now looking, there's something recently that was launched called the phygital games, physical digital games.
Combination of digital and physical activities.
So, for example, you have 3 people playing on the PlayStation soccer and you have 5 people actually on a play, and then they scores together, they are a team. So Namibia has a digital soccer team and a physical soccer team. So and they do this with different sports. They're starting to combine them. But the nicest thing of it all, look, the point of this is they want to grab more children and young people into a sports sector by saying, okay, let's leverage the power of esports. We get you involved in esports, but then we start pushing you to the physical side of that specific sport as well. Let's say you like basketball and you play it on the PlayStation. Then we want to then what we're aiming to do is to have more events where we have the basketball association of the country there, so that they're playing here, but they're actually playing it next to them as well.
Philip, if I understood correct, it means that through the esports, you bring people, the youth, to the physical activities.
Yes, that's
so
it.
Esport is the introduction to play any type of sport in real life,
Yeah.
to be more physical active.
Yeah.
So not a transit from offline to online, but from online to offline. From time to time, at least.
Yes.
Clever grown-ups make children do what they want.
Almost. But see, and that is the power of this, is the one thing we have to understand is, why are there so many esports players? Why is the numbers for esports players skyrocketing compared to all the other sports types? It's because of accessibility. Every child almost has a smartphone. Every person has almost now a laptop nowadays for work, which they can easily start gaming on. I'm not saying play on your work equipment. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying it is there. It's accessible. And the reality of this is, it's very easy for people to just take your phone and start playing. But it's very difficult for us to commit to putting on socks, your full uniform, driving somewhere, exercising for an hour and coming back. People are tired nowadays because life is fast. So they want to go to something that is short, that they can get that gratification in a short amount of time. And I think that is where esports is seen in a bad light, because that now sees that you're putting all your time into that. But I don't think really it's that. But that's why we want to make this structured. We want to put structure in there. Like, for example, what I'm trying to do in Namibia is I want to tell the schools now, I'm fighting with the ministers and schools a bit. I want to say you're not allowed to play esports unless you have a certain grade average, and unless you're also playing a traditional sport. So that I can make sure, because also, I've got research that shows that even if you're physically active, you're a better esports player, all of this. But that transitioning it from the digital to the physical and the physical to the digital, I think that's where magic is really going to start happening. The last thing I want to say is, I have this one story which was very funny to me. We have a center called the DTS Fields. Now the DTS Fields is like hockey. It's like outdoor hockey. And there were these schools that had like a school, we call it an inter-school. It's all the schools come together to play each other for a whole day, for all 2 days.
Some sort of competition.
It's like a regional competition where they select the best kids from the
school with
schools.
the other schools.
Yes. So it's like 12 schools that get to all send their hockey teams there, and then they just keep playing each other.
They decide which school is better in terms of particular sport, right?
Yes, sort of, but we don't say it too loud. It's supposed to build cooperation, but we all know it's a big competition actually. So, but now what happened is, for the first time ever, there was a teacher that told us, just come, put up some esports, and then, let's see how it goes. Then we did it. The first half of the day, all the teachers were annoyed with us. The coaches were annoyed with us because the kids are just there. The last half, all of them came back and said, we are so sorry, because when you weren't here, we always had to go look for our players. We don't know where they went, between games, if they are waiting for their next match. Now they know everyone is just there in the hall. They never had to go look for players because they knew where they were. So afterwards they were like, okay, that makes sense. But no, it's interesting, not to say the least.
Philip, it is well known that esport is the industry for the youth. Why it is so attractive? And especially if we're talking, keeping in mind that we are in Nizhny Novgorod and there are a lot of youth came from many countries, different regions and continents. So what esports, why IT brings so much young people from your perspective? Because I think you know better than anyone what is so special in this type of digital, let's say, industry that brings a young generation to it, not the old one.
Yuri, I think when you talk about youth, Anna, having a son here can attest, is they are very fidgety. They want to do something. They have energy. They want to, but not just physical energy. They want to be engaged. And I think that is, as I explained earlier, the moment you pick up a phone, you can be playing a match with people within 30 seconds.
I have a cell phone, but I don't play football with the other people.
By the way.
But the school boys and the school girls, they touch the screen playing with something all the time. I mean, what's the difference? Why I don't play? But okay, I like sports, and I also like, the screen, something is happening, movies, maybe some sort of games, but not anymore.
Because you was growing without any gadgets. You was happy child.
This is why I want to hear. I want to hear the opinion of the professional. Why so?
Okay, look, I think one part of it is I will say that it's a miss. It's not something that I like, but I think the one reason why young people like esports is because of the money involved. They have this illusion that if they win, they can get rich quick. But the reality is it's only the top 1 or 2% that really do make a living out of it. But I don't think that's the real reason. I think the biggest problem for the older generation is that you grew up in not you specifically, I'm saying just the older generation, is that you grew up in a time and place where you connected differently. You connected in a time where spending time with each other face to face was how we bonded. For younger generations, that's not there anymore. They are living in a world where I can be your friend, I can be your friend. You say something that I don't like and I unfriend you and I block you. I can shape my digital self. I can shape my world. It's much easier to press a delete and a block button than it is to go to someone and say sorry. It's not good, but it's very easy for them to connect in this way. So the way in which they form bonds, in which they interact with each other, for them playing with a guy for 15 years online, every 2 days they are online, they are playing together. One is in Turkey, one is in, I don't know, France or Brazil or whatever. It's not, to them it's normal. For them it is a real friendship. It's difficult to understand, but I think it's because of the exposure that you can get in a different way, in a convenient and comfortable way. Because meeting friends, sometimes, if you go to a party, even if we go to a conference, you don't know anyone there. You're just sort of standing there until you and someone look at the same thing. You're like, hi, how are you? It's building relationships in real life physically is much harder than it is in a digital world. And I think that's why, it's so attractive to them. Let me say that.
Look, Flip, there is also an opposite opinion. Please share your ideas about it. You said that esports allow people to communicate, to establish some sort of ties, even maybe a friendship, even living on the different hemispheres of the planet, different continents. That's the one story. So esports, like one former IT company used to provide slogan, connecting people,
Yeah.
The producer of the cell phone will not mention it, but everybody knows. But there is a
slogan.
Good slogan,
like
connecting people. Yeah, as well as one drink, famous Russian drink also connects people. But there is an opposite side of the medal, right? For example, imagine the young people, same schoolboys and schoolgirls, they're living in the same district, within the same city. In the past years, in the past times, they used to play together. They went to school, and after school, they went to the playground, do some activities. Maybe not even playing them, drawing something, creating something together. Now we know that there are a lot of youngsters who prefer to stay home and to play instead of go outside and do activities with the other teammates, colleagues, I would say, I don't know, schoolmates. And this is a real problem. So my question is there any barrier or line how we can divide positive impulse on esports and negative when young generations start replace their offline life with the online activities? Because from a certain perspective, this one is a little bit unnatural. Do you agree? So there should be a certain amount of offline activities because we are social people.
Sorry, there is a very funny video on YouTube on this topic when a father says to his son, "Stop playing computer games, go away from the house." And the son answers him, "But what I will do there? I don't know, father, please, please."
I don't know your life.
I want to stay home. and the father says to his son once again, okay, you can, for example, take the stone and throw it to the window of our neighbor.
Unbelievable experience is waiting for you.
But son says, but this is forbidden.
So, Flip, I hope you understood, how we can split the positive effects from the esports and the negatives when the children start not to play with each other, not to communicate enough.
Yuri, I think in a way, if you look at how society has started grooming children, we have shifted from internal validation to external validation. Meaning that in the past, if I ran a 10-kilometer marathon, I would feel good. Now, if I run a 10-kilometer marathon, I have to post it on Facebook so that other people can tell me I must feel good. That is the problem. If I run around here, 2 people are going to see me. If I play online, 10,000 people are going to see me.
You mean you need extra external approval?
External approval. And that is the society we live in now, because look at how TV, media, everything is conditioning children to say that if you don't have likes on followers on Facebook or Instagram or whatever, then you are not popular.
Loser.
A loser, yes.
Then you are a loser. So why would I go out there and play with my 2 friends if I can be online and play with 100 friends, because then I'm more popular? It's not good. People, and I also blame the parents here for a bit, because also parents used to do, not all parents, but most parents used to do more effort. It's much easier if your child is difficult to say, here's a cell phone, go do that. Now, 5 years down the line, you say, he never gets off the cell phone. But what did you do 5 years ago? For the last 5 years, you've been giving your child a smartphone or a tablet or whatever, and now you expect him to behave differently. You taught him that, or him or her, your child, that this is okay to raise this, to grow up in this way. But also, I think we're not living in the easiest of times. You don't know what to believe. There's actually a quote from a gentleman I saw on a video clip as well, Denzel Washington, that said, if you don't read the news, you are uninformed. If you do read the news, you are misinformed.
Yes,
I
watch podcasts hours, and you will be properly informed.
So you see that. So I mean, everyone is scared. I mean, children. Most of these children between the age of 8 and even 30. They don't know what to believe. They don't know how to act. They don't know how to feel. They don't know how to talk to people. Because, I mean, also look at cancel culture all over the world. If you say something wrong once, then the whole group will shun you. So why would I put myself in that position where I can be scrutinized instead of just being in my own little safe space at home? I mean, that's where people are going. The mindset is dropping. People are not in a good mental state, especially children that grow up in a very technologically inclined world. I mean, look at other countries around Russia and Russia itself. Your athletes are among the best in the tournaments that we've seen in the world stage. Oh, they dominate. When Russia walks in there, people just go, they feel the presence. But what is the sacrifice that those kids did to get there? Is they started there. But now the problem is they become the idols. So now someone is saying, that guy is playing 18 hours a day. I must play 18 hours a day.
And I'll be a hero.
But
it's a different story.
Yes. But see, the problem, the only poison of esports is connection with celebrities. Because look, if someone wanted to meet Anna, it's a process. You have to call for an interview. There's a whole process. But if I like someone that is playing games, I will go to his stream and I will type and I will immediately have a response from him. It's a sort of a fake interaction with your idol that is too easily obtained. So I will sit there and I will try to get good enough so that I can just get to the level or the sphere that I need to be to interact with my idols, which is not much. But it creates a false sense of achievement. It's a very complicated topic at the end of the day, but it's just very easy for people to go online where you look at something already that says, congratulations, you are the hero, you are the best, you win. But the moment they go out of the house, they don't have a proper job. They don't know why. They don't like their school. They don't have friends because nobody knows how to make friends or maintain a relationship. Where that's the society that media and everything else has shown us. So I'm not surprised that they're sitting there. But I would just like that opportunity to pull it back to what we spoke about earlier to say that is why we need to very carefully structure these tournaments to say, okay, we see you playing online. Now you must come and play at this physical competition. So even if they come and play games again, but now they're going to do it here in this hall, they are physically next to each other. To get them from the house into a physical venue. That is what we are trying to do very heavy to start building that sense of community. And the nice thing is we have this, we have two players in the Tekken is a game. This is like a fighting game that's one of the games that we play. They were so good. These two brothers, they are the best I've ever seen, but they are so shy. We tried for months to organize this offline competition to bring everybody there to say, okay, it's going to play the same game, but just come to this site. It's not a stadium. It's more like it's like a hall. It's like almost like a school hall. We got them there and there were these two boys, just with hoodies sitting there in the corner. When we started playing the competition, we found out those are the two brothers. So they are these dominating, overwhelmingly good players, but in real life they're just sitting like this with the hoodie, shy, retracted. But by the fourth time we had that competition, they would walk in, hello, and they would greet everyone. So you could see they transitioned from that shyness.
Socialization has started.
Yes, exactly.
And I think this is the discussion about real life between people. I mean, false communication in digital sphere and real life in the real world.
Yes.
And now, in the 21st century, we begin to forget about it, about the love between parents and children, between friends, and so on and so on. So it's a pity that we begin to forget about real communication, which gives a man something really important. Yes.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. And it's those lost skills that are crucial to their success later in life. Because what happens with most of these youth, especially when they start going into the working world, when they become adults, they've got no social skills. They've got no concept of achievement. They've got no concept of internal validation, meaning I do something, but I am happy for myself. It's almost as if someone else isn't happy for your compliments you, then it doesn't count. What is, I don't understand that, but I am concerned. There should be certain things that we do. I think parents should try a bit harder to build those relationships that we're losing. And yeah, I think again, I'll come back to this word 100 times if I have to, education. I think education on esports and a lot of technologies is not where it's supposed to be globally. For the children, for the teachers, for the parents, I think there needs to be a much harder push for proper communication, for understanding, because I don't think that's there.
Filip, you mentioned the right word, education. This is why I want to ask you a question. What Namibian society, Namibian youth can take from Russia in order to bring proper education to your soil? And the second question is also related to the previous one. In which areas, in which spheres of IT we can cooperate now without solving the problem of digital gap that can exist? Maybe there are something that we work together already now, today.
I need to be careful with what I say. No, I'm just joking.
Speak honestly.
No, it's that thing of, in Namibia, we have this saying, if you speak too loud, others will build your ideas first. Yeah, but no, it's fine. Look, Yuri, I think there are certain things in terms of capability that Russia has that we could use. For example, let me give you one idea. A couple of years ago, we had this discussion, and because fishing is a big part of the Namibian ecosystem. And we said, okay, I was talking to someone back then. His name was Dmitry. Unfortunately, we did lose contact at one point. But we spoke, and I said, let's get the company that he was working with at that point, with the Russian company he was working with, were people that were building. It's like a monitoring device that you put in the sea that measures the currents and temperature of the water and things like that. I wanted to take it and put it along the coastline of the country, so that you can measure it, and thereby it can determine how much fish has been growing, breeding in the breeding season, and it would do the fishing licenses and all of that. So there's still technologies like that you can do in the fishing industry. Agriculture is definitely there because we're a big farming country, and I think there's a lot of technologies that we are using that is simply just too old. Data technologies that you have, I mean, if I have to go again on the technologies and the pricing of what data costs in Namibia and what it costs here, I will just cry from the start. I heard what your data and things costs, but it's not just because of the people and the infrastructure. It's about the technologies behind communication technology. So I would say those would be my first three to start. I would also to add the education part there. Education, agriculture, fishing, and then data technologies or communication technologies, definitely.
Flip, as we know, esports cover many disciplines, ranging from strategies to first-person shooters. In your opinion, what disciplines made the largest contribution to the development of esports?
A difficult one.
It's difficult and it's not difficult at the same time. Look, let's not say one particular genre. Let's take a very popular title, something called Dota 2. It's a game. It's what we call a MOBA, mobile online battle arena. So that genre of game has, for example, a $5 million prize pool, but it's only once every few years or once a year. Then you get something like the Tekken tournaments, which is the fighter tournaments, which have smaller prize pools, let's say of 50 to 100,000, but they are 10 a year. So depending on it, each one of these have different structures. To say which one particularly would be very difficult, but there are the arcade fighters were probably among the top. I mean, these old machines, those Double Dragon, and you probably played some of those, and Pac-Man.
I used to, when I was at school, but it was nice. You're studying in front of this machine, and there is a sticker, joysticks, and you put buttons and try, because you need to look what button you need to push, and otherwise you need to follow what's happening on the monitor. I was struggling a lot, so I didn't achieve any serious result, and I forget it.
So I had practically the same experience with Mario.
Okay. Okay. So you see, it's difficult to pinpoint one. I think each one has made a great contribution in its own way. But also take in, for example, if you look at age groups, younger people like to play these shooter and fighter games. Older people play more racing and strategy games. So it's very strange and interesting at the same time to see the different groups and also the different continents. If you go to Africa, the games and the types there is very different from Europe or from Asia or from.
What do you play? I mean, in Africa.
Yes.
In Africa, we play the main things with a little bit of fighters, but mostly things like football and basketball, NBA, stuff like that.
The sports, original offline sports, where African or the black people are mostly recognized.
Yeah.
Because basketball is the best. Yeah, football. You know that African national teams are among the best.
Yes. So they like that sort of games. You do find the others there, but
I mean, it's some sort of a reflection of their life, which they see outside the window.
Exactly. But see, that's exactly where our earlier discussion comes in from the physical to the digital to the physical. Because again, if the kids only play physically, they don't learn the technology. So that's why we want to bring them in for the game so that they can learn that. Again, every time this theme is reflected in everything that we do. But now the interesting thing is I wouldn't so much say that the their specific genre. I just know that the arcade era with all these arcade machines, I think that's what got a lot of people into it in the first place. I mean, the very first games where you had MS-DOS with those black screens and you had to load it up and it's a stiffy and
In order to run something, you should have done something magic. These commands, long, rows with the symbols you don't understand. If there is one mistake, you need to erase everything and start from the beginning.
And because the very first games that they really started shipping out was text-based. So it wasn't these colorful things. It was, you are now in a forest, you look around, what do you want to do? And then you have to type, walk forward, pick up a rock, throw the neighbor's window, Basically, the interesting thing was the first games that they started shipping globally was text-based. So, as I said, the screen did not even have real pictures. It was these pixels, and then it says, you are in a forest, what do you want to do? Then you can tell it, I want to cut a tree, but you have to type it. I want to throw a rock. Then it says, you see a monster, and then you have to type run away or pick up sword, hit with sword.
But there is something interesting in it.
Yeah, it was a very engaging because you had to use your imagination, because the picture only gave you sort of a guideline. You didn't see like today. I mean, it's beautiful graphics and everything just looks beautiful in the game. But that time you had to use your imagination. That got it spreading amongst what we'll call the computer nerds back then. When those guys fantasizing on what it could be started working on it, and that we had this cascade. But I honestly don't know which genre is the most impactful, but I definitely know each one of them made a contribution at some point or another. Definitely.
And as for Europeans, what do they like?
Europeans, oh goodness.
Maybe Russians. Maybe you know what Russians like.
Well, you guys are dominating in a game called Counter-Strike right now, and Dota. So Counter-Strike is a shooting game. Yes, it's
Russians.
Yeah.
Talking about Russians.
It's a first-person shooter game. That's one you are very, very, very good in. Dota is a strategic game. It's 5 players against 5 players. It's on a map, but one match takes about an hour plus. So it's not a lot of people like to watch it, but Russia's very good at it.
And Europeans in general.
Europeans in general, yeah. So the strategic games and the first-person shooter games is what Europe is generally strong in, very strong. Strategic games and fighting games, Asia dominates. And sport games, funny enough, is more America's side. But, I mean, this changes all the time. So,
Philip, and the last question for today. So you second time in Russia in person.
Yes.
But the first time during summer. So a few words about your impressions on the Russian summer. It's like probably winter in Africa.
Green winter.
Green winter.
I have to say that I did not think I would be coming to Russia and sweating. It's hot here. It's hot.
What, really?
It's hot. It's hot. It's not as hot as in Namibia, but I am pleasantly surprised by the temperatures, I must say.
What temperature we have today, by the way?
It's 24, 25, but it's humid.
Yeah, the
It's
humidity.
wet.
That's the thing. The biggest thing that's the difference is Namibia has a dry heat. Like we have something called biltong, which is like dried meat. That is the type of heat you need to make that meat. That's why our dried meat is probably some of the best. This is a humid heat. It's something different. We're not used to it, but I must say I really like this season. It's beautiful. It's green. I mean, I come from a desert. Everything is brown, gray, and depressed. Yeah, everything is lovely. It's green. It's vibrant. Now, I really like it. I really love it. And to be able to have seen it in the 2 different lights that I have. I mean, last time I was here, it was a bit colder, but also the trees were a little bit, less leaves and so on. But this time it's bright. It's beautiful. I mean, I like it. I love it.
As for our real winter with the snow?
I've never seen snow in my life.
Really?
Mm.
You know, for the 3rd time, Namibia.
We know this man.
Yeah, for the 3rd time, when you decide to leave Namibia, so go to Russia and we'll show you snow.
Because,
And you will not be sweating, I promise.
Trust me, I'll find a way. I will be playing with building snowmen and things until it's hot. No, I've seen. I mean, in most of the films and everything I saw growing up, it always depicted Russia as this place with, the snow coming up to here, and you have to have gloves and these layers of clothes and all of that. And then you come here and it's like, where's the snow?
Where is the bears and balalaikas?
Where is the bears? Yeah.
Luckily, most famous Russian drink still exists.
Yeah, that still exists. No, I have a friend who said they actually it's a joke from a group of friends back home, where they said, if I come to Russia, I must wrestle a bear, and then everyone's like, Flip, you are so fat, you'll just lie on top of the bear until it stops moving.
Thank you, Flip, very much. It was very interesting and enjoyable discussion. So we'll definitely talk again. I hope next time as well as today in person with you.
We are very glad to see you, Flip.
And me to you too. Thank you so much for the opportunity, and thank you also on the side for showing me this beautiful city. It is an experience of a lifetime. I am so angry I didn't do this earlier in my life, but thank you once again.
Hello, everybody from Nizhny Novgorod.
See you.
Zvezda Holding presents Dynamic Spectrum Talks now.